Welcome to the Barbell Strikes Back. I'm James McDermott, joined by Miguel Porter. Miguel, long time no see.
Yeah, yep. It's been a busy morning, I guess you could say.
It has. I took your 10 a.m. class. Then we had a nearly 3 hour coaches meeting. And now here we are directly after that with just a 30-ish minute break doing a podcast talking about more coaching stuff.
Yep.
Hey, look at how hard you're working on your coaching. Everyone's working hard. You coached a class today. We had a big meeting, just going over a lot of stuff. And here we are to talk more coaching. This is how you get better. You put in the time.
Yep.
People out there, they're sleeping right now, they're slacking, and Miguel's just getting better and better. And I saw a little bit of that in your class today. I think that was the first time I've taken your class, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I've taken a class with Shaf. I've taken Josh's class, and this was my first Miguel class, and it went well. It was a great workout. We had air squats, toes to bar, dumbbell step ups, and then more toes to bar and more air squats.
Yeah.
We had three people in the class, and as I was taking it, there were many moments that I will call F yeah moments, where I'm just like, I'm so proud. Like, yes, that's awesome. We did it. The first one was you already had pre-staged equipment. You had boxes in the room for the step ups. You had wall balls on one wall for squat therapy. And I think it's an overlooked thing on preparing in advance, just moving stuff around, making it easier for people, right?
Yeah. I think sometimes I include in my kind of lesson plan the timing of things to include how long it'll take to get certain things. And
Yep.
I guess today it just made me think that I could cut down on some of that time because there were a lot of elements and it would have taken a while to get each one and come back because you don't want to send everyone out for everything at one time.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great way to do it. And I don't know about you, like when I pre-stage things, let's say if I set up all the rowers in advance or something like that, I don't know. I just feel sharper coaching. I just feel like it's different. Not that there's anything wrong with like, okay, guys, get your rowers down, set them up this way, and building the room that way. That's group management and leadership. You have to be able to tell people to do the task. But there is something about just prepping things in advance and just the way it makes you feel. Did you notice that at all?
Yeah, I think because you feel prepared, you feel more prepared because you already know that it's right
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
But better to over prepare than under prepare or
Yeah.
not prepare at all, right? So yeah, I think it's a great thing, and there's so many little ways you can go about it. It doesn't have to be every piece of equipment. Just like you hit big bulkier items that would have been time consuming. We also know how the boxes go in our gym.
Yeah.
It's a never ending mess that's unfixable, maybe. So you don't want us over there digging through boxes. So you just already have them there. You're like, hey, grab them, boom, we're set.
Yeah.
The other thing that I thought was really well is the progression for the squat. So we had the workout was bookended with 100 squats, and you incorporated some squat therapy in your warm up. Excellent tool, great to use, good to give people feedback. And you also layered in the teaching and your own focuses. So the first time we went to the wall, you explained how to do the squat therapy reps with the wall, you demoed it, and then you said, I want you to focus on initiating the squat by sending your hips back. Golden moment. Boom.
Hmm.
And that's all you had to say. You could of course keep talking, but you showed us what it was. You told us what we were focusing on. This is how you want us to start the squat every single time later on in the workout, right? Hips back, line of action. And then that's what you were coaching and teaching, and boom. And then you led us through the reps too. You called the reps with a tempo. Then the next time we came to the squat therapy station, you had us push the knees out, right?
Yeah.
And then the next time after that, we just tried to go a little quicker. If there was going to be one more step to the progression, it would have just been full air squats.
Yeah.
Like, all right, now let me see you do the full thing. But I thought that was great. Did it go as you had planned?
Yeah, I think so. I think just overall for the way that classes have been going for me now, I think it's been helping to have, I guess, what I view as like newer athletes. in
Mhm.
class,
Yep.
because now I feel as though I'm programming everything fresh instead of I know that this person knows how to do this, or I know what it looks like when they do it. Now it's like I'm already making sure that one person for sure has it. So then I can then just do that for everyone else.
Yeah. It is a benefit for you to have brand new athletes that they are dependent and looking to you to tell them what to do because they
Yeah.
have no idea. Versus like just a room full of the thing is, I was thinking about this right after we had our coaches meeting. We have so many, nearly 10 plus year members
Hmm.
who've been doing CrossFit for a long time, you know. So like that it doesn't change things in the fact that you're not going to go over things, but it does kind of just change the flow of class a little bit. Like, all right,
Yeah.
like you know, you have a group of 10 plus year people who have gone through every fall face off, all these things, the open multiple times, and you're like, all right, I'm going to teach you how to adjust the hooks on the rig today. And they're
Yeah.
like, what do you think we're dumb? What's going on here? But if you have that group of brand new people, they're like, we don't even know what those hooks are.
Yeah.
So now, but that's beneficial for your development as a coach to be like, this is called a J hook. It attaches to the rig this way. And by the way, this is the rig. This is how you do things. This is how you figure out what number you need to be for squatting movements. Like that is stuff that if you don't get the time to coach it and you never coach it, when you need it, it won't be there. And
Right.
you'll have like a mixed group of beginners and maybe advanced, and you'll get holes in that game when you don't say, hey, set it up this way, do that. And then you're going to end up individually coaching people on how to do it, as opposed to, just telling people, hey, this is how we do it. Put your bar here, grip it this way, grab the clips, put it on that way. It's that's really important.
Yeah.
So I think you're getting a good mix of people. Were you intending to do a full air squat at some point?
Um, Not exactly. Um, no, I think I kind of just wanted to touch on those points and
Mhm.
then kind of figured that we'd be good. I actually didn't expect everyone to continue using the wall ball as a target for the workout either.
Do you think
Um,
they did that because I was doing that, even though I have a specific reason?
well, I mean, I think that helped. I do feel like as though Nikhil sometimes uses that as a
Mhm.
target, and then with Rebecca being newer as well, that it helped. Um, but yeah, I do think that once one person used it, and the fact that they were still in the room, um, kind of helped that as well.
I actually looked over and I was like, "Oh, we're all using the ball." I wasn't
Yeah,
expecting that when
yeah,
I looked over at one point. Yeah, I would have maybe challenged both of them to not use it.
hmm,
I was just trying to find a depth where I could feel my legs and not kill myself. But with those two, because then you would have really seen what was going on in their
right,
squat
yeah,
a little more. But no right or wrong answer. It's Rebecca's like third workout. Cool, let's have it be controlled that way. But just in the future, I would definitely try to get them off of that and add in like, hey, let's do a set of the full thing to really feel what that's like. Because if we all just went to the ball, no one did a full free squat.
yeah.
So that would just be one thing there. Well, I didn't even check to see what the cap workout or warm up was. Was your warm up very different than what was programmed?
Um, no, it wasn't too different. I definitely cut some things out because I was doing squat therapy.
Hmm.
Um, so I knew that that would take a little bit longer because I wanted to really slow down each rep. So I took out
Yeah.
maybe a couple other stretching things.
Hmm.
But I think the base was fairly similar in the structure of like cardio machine, something,
Yeah.
some form of stretching. But yeah, I didn't the like time domains that they had for each movement or how many reps, I definitely changed.
Yeah. And it all fit within the hour, and everybody hit the stimulus. I feel like we did enough work. I don't know if it had to be belabored too much. Like the warm up felt like enough. Like we
Yeah.
were going through it. Um, I guess for so like feedback, um, like with just coaching me, like I could feel your presence by the rower,
Hmm.
and but you didn't say anything, and then I would try to like make it wonky. I'm like, I wonder if he'll say something if I wonk it up here. But there was one point, like I don't know if you're looking at it and you're like, well, James's rowing looks pretty good, so I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, so if the technique looks good, and you're like, well, I'm not going to fix anything, what else could you tell me to do in that situation then?
I don't know. Like what? Up the intensity of it?
Yeah, go faster.
Hmm.
Because on your second row, you said you wanted us to do a little more. It's more of a
Yeah.
moderate row, right? And I was still had my stroke rate down by a 20.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just kind of cruising, and I could feel you there. And I'm like, I wonder if he's going to tell me to push harder or go faster. And not to say that my rowing technique was perfect. I mean, I don't know your eyes looking at it, but like if that's what I was looking at, I'm like, whoa, sound technique, I like it.
Hmm.
Now, let's see what you can do with it. Do
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. It was definitely, again, since it is my first time coaching you and you're not like I'm not worried that you'll like hurt yourself.
Yeah,
Um, it
I
was
am.
kind of like assessment as well, where I was looking, and the second time, yeah, when I said to up the stroke rate, I noticed that yours was lower than the range that I said, but I wasn't sure exactly what it was the first time. So I
Mhm.
wasn't sure if you had bumped it up. But yeah, it was definitely like a kind of assessment first
Yeah.
of like, oh yeah, I'm
No,
not exactly sure what it looks like for you. So yeah.
no, I was cheating. I was like, yeah, this is moderate enough. And then I'm like, oh wait, here it comes. And then you walked away, and I'm like, we got away with it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, So, but that's just like a thing to think about. Like, it's not always going to be a mechanical correction, right?
Hmm.
Sometimes, like people will have good technique on things. Like, it doesn't mean it's perfect. Doesn't mean you can't make it better. But if you're looking at something like the pacing on things is also something you would want to coach. You might say, hey, all right, squats are looking good. I'm happy with it. Go faster. The kill down, down, like
Yep.
faster, faster, and that changes the intensity of things. So we don't want to get used to incorrect movement. We want to correct incorrect movement and look for those flaws. But when we're pretty happy with it, also look at like the effort
Yeah.
too, and coach that, and then get on people that way. So yeah, a great class, great class.
Cool.
It was apparent that you had prepared for it. It felt very organized, very structured. We were working the whole time. There was very little downtime, and the times that you were talking, like, hey, we're doing a single leg step up, and we want to emphasize loading this leg as we go up. I'm looking at them, and like they're like, all right, good, good. We're ready to hear you talk, so we can rest a second
Yeah.
from that other thing before we get on the box. So it felt like a good balance of talk to
Yeah.
versus too much talking, which we've
Hmm.
been all talking about. So cool, cool. I don't know what next week's workout is on the cat, but we'll see how that goes again. Uh, Yesterday we did a big thing,
Yep.
a painful thing, a very chilly thing.
Yeah.
The polar plunge out at Grafton Lake in Grafton, New York. That was my first polar plunge. Your second.
Yep. My second.
It was Schaaf's second, and it was Abby, Maria, and Nyla's first, I believe, right?
Yep.
Okay, and my first. So a lot of first timers. Compared to your first time, how was it? When did you do your first one? Last year?
We did it 2 years ago.
Mhm.
I I'm
Just
not
enough time to
sure.
forget.
Yeah, I think as we drove there and we started like walking, and I was like, "Oh, maybe this will be really bad." Like I can't really remember what it was like that first time.
Mhm.
Um I do feel I think it felt worse the first time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that guy in the locker room did say that it was colder last year, So maybe it was also like the temp. Maybe we just had a warm year, you know.
Yeah. Hmm.
So maybe when you did it, who knows what the temperature was at that
Right.
point. It's definitely a shock to the system. I will say it didn't. I mean, not that anything would have helped, but like seeing Abby, Maria, and Nyla on their way back up from having gone in it, and like the horror, like
Right.
they were like traumatized and still like like in shock a little bit, and like ready to get out of there. So like as we were walking down, we passed them. It's also weird, like walking outside in like almost no clothing in the middle of January. I don't know if I've
Yeah.
ever done that before. Like just be outside with no shirt on and in shorts in January in flip flops. That was like a weird thing. But yeah, we went in. The water was crazy cold. They
Yeah.
just cut a big hole out of the lake. I do think that it was nice that I mean, not that we planned the timing, but by the time we got out there, most people had already gone in.
Yeah. I think that was perfect. I think that worked out
Yeah.
like as best as it could have.
Yeah, there was no crowd on trying to get into the water, so you're kind of stuck trying to wade. Like that really would have sucked.
Yeah.
I think that probably happened to Abby and Maria and Leone, where if you're in a pack, you're just standing idle in that water. That would have really, I would have wanted to probably get out like
Yeah.
immediately.
Yeah.
And then we had the space to dunk and then immediately make our way out. Like as
Yeah.
soon as we went down, you were already ahead of me. We just all started to get out of there. Yeah, I will say it stung the legs. I was
Yeah.
surprised. It was like being stabbed like in I don't even know what spots on the legs. Like it it burned. It hurt. Like in
Hmm.
like I wasn't expecting that kind of pain. Um,
Yeah. Those first few steps in the water definitely were a lot.
yeah.
But I did feel better once my whole body went under. I think
Mhm.
like kind of like a numbness took over. So I
Yep.
was able to relax a little bit more. And the fact that because we didn't go with like the bulk of the group, I realized that like so many more eyes were like directly on us. Because as we
Yeah.
walked down, it was just us. And as we walked up, it was just us.
Yeah.
So part of that, like trying to look cool and like collected helped because it honestly impacted the way that like I reacted to the cold and
Yeah.
the wind blowing and all that.
Oh, the wind sucked.
Yeah.
That I was not happy about that. Yeah, the perimeter or the back end there was filled with police officers in like thermal wading,
Yep.
water wading gear. So they were all smiling and laughing. They're like, "Come
Hmm.
on in, guys! Come join us." And then Pat Higgins, he was already out there, another Albany CrossFit member who did the polar plunge, and he's like swimming around
Yeah.
like a fish just out like he was in there for a while because him and his buddies they just go in and just sink and just chat and have a good jolly time
Yeah.
because he's done like so many of them. Yeah, as soon as I saw you dunk, I'm like, that's my cue. I got to be dunking now. So I
Yeah.
took my glasses off, I dunked, and like you said, all of a sudden, all the pain and sensation went away,
Hmm.
and uh, it was easier to almost do that. Like when you go to get in a pool and you're like, it's cold,
Yeah.
and it's nowhere near as cold like that. It was easier to just wade out there and just be really angry and make
Yep.
noises and then dunk than it would be at the pool over here in the summer when the water is just a little cold and you got to like
Definitely.
dip your feet in. It's weird. Like you said, you're like in some kind of survival,
Hmm.
mode. And also, you like in the back of your head, even though like you can't really think about anything. I don't know. I like all I could
Yeah.
think about
No.
was just how it felt in that moment.
Hmm.
And then when you're seeing the police officers laughing and saying, "Come on in," you're slightly a little pissed off at them, like just a
Hmm.
little bit. You're like, "You guys are having way too much enjoyment out of this." But then, you know, you just your mind goes blank. You just dunk because you know that once you dunk, you're getting out.
Right. Yeah.
At least that's how it was for
Yeah.
me.
And again, because we were separate from the group, like we had to dunk. We couldn't just run in and run out
Yeah,
because we had so much room to do it. And yeah, it's kind of like the same thing in summer where you'd rather just get your whole body under and have your body experience that change in temperature than like feel splashed. Because
yeah,
Lou was slightly behind us and the second he came in, he did like a big splash, and I was like, before any of this gets on me, I need to make sure that
Yeah.
I just get under, because it's
Yeah.
gonna ruin it.
Lewis came running in and dove head first.
Yeah.
That takes some advanced training to do that, you know. Um, I remember even slightly almost being mad when I saw him dive in. I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I didn't even notice the splash. I just saw a big smile on his face and he dove in head first. And I'm like, you're having way too much fun.
Right.
Stop. You know, because I'm not having fun. I'll have fun later when I think about it, but not right now. Right now, my legs are on fire. I was surprised that the burning sensation didn't happen more around the abdomen
Hmm.
because whenever you're getting in like a cold pool, that's one of the most sensitive spots,
Right.
like your love handles and stuff. And maybe it's just because it was already just like we're 30 seconds in and everything
Yeah.
was bad already. Just couldn't feel that. I didn't have eyes on Schaff. I don't know what happened to Schaff, but we all got out of there and then went and changed. That's it. It was over before it began. You know, it
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
the shortest part of our entire trip up there was just literally getting in the water.
Hmm.
I'm glad I did it. You know, it wasn't anything was a super priority, like maybe ever. If I went the rest of my life and I had never done it, I would never have thought a second thing about it, you
Yeah.
know. But the fact that a bunch of people were doing it makes it easier. It's also something I never would have done solo. Like, yeah, I'm going to go out
Yeah.
there
Exactly.
and do. You almost need a group, like even another, just one person. It definitely helped that Schaff did it too, just to
Hmm.
have more people doing it. So yeah, I don't know if I'll have a need to do another one. You know.
Right. No, it was. I think it was fun. It was a good, I guess, jumping off point to like, I don't know, just getting more into the flow of like regularly doing things outside of the gym as a group.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you know, getting outside of comfort zone too.
Hmm.
You know, like because I was thinking about it, I'm like, you know, I've said before that I wouldn't want to do it and blah blah blah, but then it's like, you know, that means you're staying in your bubble on like a comfort zone thing.
Yeah.
And now, anytime I go to the pool, well, that should theoretically be easier because it's not going to be this awful.
Hmm.
Um, and it fit my theme of like just new experiences, you know,
Yeah.
being idle so much for the last couple of years for one reason or another. It's like, all right, yeah, I'll go do a lesson on that. You know, like I never would have done a handgun lesson or an archery lesson, probably. I never would have thought to do it, you
Hmm.
know. But now it's like, yeah, when you spend like a couple of years just sitting because you don't want to move because it's too painful, it kind of puts things into a different perspective. It's like, yeah, I'm gonna go do that, you know, especially just in case, because like I don't know what illnesses and things can sometimes go away and then come back,
Yeah.
circle back around, and I have no idea if that will be the case. But I should go out there and use my legs while I have them, you know.
Yeah.
So and just go do stuff. So that's kind of my. I was thinking about it in January keeps reframing the year and like learning what I got to do to like hit my goals, things like that. And in putting like words to things, like one of my words for the year is like experiences,
Yeah.
you know, and that's why I'm doing all these lessons and other things in the polar plunge. And I just want to experience things again, you know, so
Yeah.
that's kind of like part of the theme. So yeah. Any other thoughts on the polar plunge?
No, I it was a fun time. I'm glad that we got to go as a group. I think that was
Yeah.
cool. And yeah, we'll see what else pops up throughout the year.
Yeah. And I would say do one. Why not? You know,
Yeah.
just try it out, get a bunch of people together and go do one. I did like how it was, at least we raised some money for charity. I
Yeah.
saw that the food bank raised over $3,000, right?
Yeah.
That is what I last saw. So, man, that's really good. $3,000 for everyone coming in
Right.
for a less than a 1 minute experience, probably. You know, that's pretty cool. Um, So yeah, polar plunge, definitely do it. I do have a new respect for every time you see in the movies someone falling in really cold water.
Yeah.
Like I kind of know how that feels, and also I'm like, yeah, I don't know if you really would have got out of that. Like
Right.
when they've been out in the wilderness and everything, and they somehow survive, or they cut open an animal. Like I don't know if I was stuck out there all by myself in that kind of water. I can definitely understand now, just like when I did my swim meet and I was struggling in the water. You like understand these potentially problematic situations.
Yeah.
I can see now how the clock is ticking.
Hmm.
You fall in that water out in the woods or something like that, you got to figure something out really fast. There is no locker room with a heater in it.
Yeah.
Like, so I think I don't know. Every time I do one of these things, I'm respecting nature more, like
Yeah.
having a perspective on like what it can do. Don't mess around with it. So I took a handgun lesson last week
Yeah.
too. Just kind of popped up. I can't remember why I decided to do it. I think I just wanted to, since I found an archery range, I wanted to know, like, are there shooting ranges in Albany? Of course there are.
Yeah.
And then what does that involve? And then I saw you could do handgun, you could do pistol, you can do shotgun, you can do rifle. So I just decided just to keep it simple and do a handgun lesson.
Yeah.
And it was cool. Very nice people, great instructor. The first 40 minutes was literally just talking.
Yeah.
So just a one-on-one conversation. Why do you want to do it? And then learning all the pieces of the gun, which I appreciated that. It's like, all right, here's the grip. There's the back strap, which that's the back of the gun. They call it a
Yeah.
back strap. So it's learning all those things. And he explained that it's important for you to know this, that if you continue, that if you have conversations with people, it sounds like you know what you're talking about.
Hmm.
Like, I don't want you to sound dumb because you're calling something that
Right.
it's not.
Yeah.
And it's also important to know the anatomy of the gun. Should you get your own, you got to clean it, you got to put it together,
Yeah.
all these things. And then there's, of course, the safety component with it, on knowing this is what this does. So make sure you don't push that while you're trying to operate the handgun.
Yeah.
So I appreciated that. And then we went over today at the coaches meeting, both the archery and the handgun lessons heavily emphasized stance and grip, and I really appreciated that too. And it's just sometimes, like, even though it's important, you got to go somewhere else and be like, all right, we're
Yeah.
not crazy for emphasizing this. Every time I tell you to put your feet shoulder width apart or adjust your grip, this is important, because like I've never operated a handgun before. I had no idea what I was doing.
Yeah.
Every single time, well, we even practiced just body and hand, how to hold it, and he would he'd tell me where to put my feet and adjust my arm position, stuff like that. So he went over all that stuff, and then when we finally went out, before we even went out into the range, I had an empty handgun, and then we would practice me taking it from him and then setting my grip. So he would put the handgun out there, it's completely empty, and he'd be like, "Take this handgun from me." And he told me that you want a firm handshake grip. So he would say, "Take this handgun from me, firm handshake grip.
Yeah.
Now set your other hand, and then the finger is off of the trigger."
Hmm.
And then he explained how you're trying to sight what you're looking at. Like, you're not looking at the target per se. You're looking at these little sights on the gun, and then you're trying to line it up through the back pieces and the front pieces, and then eventually you shoot.
Yeah.
And then he also explained what to expect. And it's like, we want to do that in coaching. And I was learning through repetition, repetition, repetition. So it's like, your feet go here, squat down. All right, adjust that. No, your feet go here. Nope, take your hands wider. Like, it's what we're doing is normal. And I mean, I've only been to two places, but both places have taught exactly how we are doing.
Yeah.
Tell, show, do, check. He told me what we're going to do. He showed me how to do it. Then he checked what we were doing, and then I did it. And there's, of course, the safety element on it. Both archery and handgun, of course, super has to be safety number one. But us too, right? Like,
Right.
we're not giving them a handgun or a bow and arrow, but we're giving them a 45-pound barbell and asking them to go down to the limits of their flexibility with it hanging out over their head.
Yeah.
We're asking them to hang in the air off of a pull-up bar. And I don't know, over the years, we've had people who you can tell that they think that what we're doing is silly, and they don't see the importance of it. But
Yeah.
we have to insist,
Hmm.
because that's how you get shoulder injuries. That's how you tweak this, tweak that. Same thing with adding weight to a barbell. When I went out to shoot, we did one bullet at a time. He would take the magazine out, he'd put one bullet in it, he would load it, and then he would hold the handgun out in front of me and said, "Take this gun from me." So the exact everything he said before, he keeps saying it. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like when you're teaching someone how to do the push press, and you're like, "Okay, we're going to focus on having an upright torso," and then as you layer in teaching progressions, you keep reminding the group, "Give me that upright torso. I want that upright torso." You just keep layering it in. So
Yeah.
nothing changed. The teaching was super simple, but he just kept reminding me over and over and over because he assumed nothing. And plus, I also told him I had never done it before. When people come to the gym, they're like, "Yeah, I work out. Yeah, I've lifted weights before." And like I always assume, no, you haven't.
Right.
Especially when they say they've done cross before, or especially when they're like, "Yeah, I've done weightlifting before." I'm like, no, probably not. So it's never good to assume they understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
So I would take the gun from him. He would tell me to line it up. Then he's like, "Do you have the sights?" Good. Now put your finger on the trigger. So I wasn't allowed to put my finger on the trigger until he told me to do that.
Right.
And then he's like, "Now slowly start to squeeze it." And then the gun would fire and hit the target. And that happened every time. Eventually, he gave me a little more weight, quotations, if you will, 2 bullets, 3 bullets, and then eventually 5 bullets. And after we had gone through that process a bunch of times, the exact same verbiage every time, he's like, "Okay, here's how you release the magazine, this button here. And you turn, you might have to turn the gun a little bit to get your thumb over there if you have small hands, and then you put your other hand down here to catch it because the magazines are expensive.
Yeah.
You don't want the fall on the ground and break." And so he had me practice it with the empty handgun, and then after I would be done shooting, he'd be like, "Okay, now release the magazine, pull it out, and then put it back on the table." So like he started to layer that in. He's like, uh, uh, "Here's how you put the kettlebell down,"
Yeah.
so to say. Like we want to put it down every single, which we start with the kettlebell putting down, but like he started to layer all that stuff in, and I was like, "Man, like this is what we want to do." I'm He's taking it seriously. I'm taking it seriously. I would want the same when someone comes to the gym.
Yeah.
So it's just been really cool to like just see how other instructors teach their craft and what can be learned from it. And the common theme has been stance and grip and high repetition and safety. Everything else comes from there.
Nice.
You think you would try handgun or anything like that? Have you ever done that before?
No, I never have. Yeah, I think I would. Yeah, overall, it's just one of those things that it's a skill.
Yeah.
So I prefer to know as many things as I can.
Yeah.
Um, Even if it's not necessarily something that I'm like 100% interested in. I think from a safety perspective as well, of just like, oh, here's how you can operate this safely. And like, again, like you said, just knowing the pieces and how to maintain and, just for overall knowledge is really good.
Yep. Yep. And now I started rewatching Breaking Bad, and I'm like, they're holding it all wrong. Like
Mhm.
like you start to it's cool to be educated like that too, where like you're
Yeah.
watching and you're like, just like with the polar, you're like, "Yeah, the polar plunge." You're like, "Yeah, right. All right." Like before you would have fooled me, but maybe not now.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I think it's that's a cool like side quest in my exploratory mission, is just like, like I don't necessarily want or need to go to another weightlifting gym or something like that. I want to see more of these other periphery sports. How you teaching, how
Yeah.
you interacting with people. It was he opened up his whole big speech on saying, "Hey, I'm just going to show you what I know and my way. This is just one way. You might read articles and watch videos and all that stuff. But this is just one way just to get you started. And
Yep.
then eventually you'll start to learn your technique. And that's exactly what we go over at the gym, especially on a weightlifting side. I'm just teaching you one way how to snatch a clean jerk.
Yeah.
And there's a million progressions, a million ways to do this. There's no right or wrong answer. You just need to get started. So that was cool. Tactile cueing, a lot of tactile cueing. Asks for permission first. But a lot of like just really just adjusting where your hands are.
Yeah.
Um, and then I was surprised at how exhausting it got because the handgun doesn't feel like a lot of weight, but like holding it out here and doing one shot and then pulling it right back down. By the time we got to like two or three, and like I was trying to because it'll move a little bit. So now I'm trying to like line it up again. And it just feels like I've been holding it out here for a while.
Yeah.
Like holding a weight out there, and the back of my shoulders were just burning. So when we got to the 5 shot and I was out there and he's like, all right, let's do one more magazine. I was like, oh, I was hoping he was going to say we were done, like, which that goes to show you, like, when you tell people to scale things down or to stop, someone's going too long. Like you've heard, like we've talked about, like they're waiting for you to put them out of their misery, right? Like they'll keep going because maybe that's what they think you want them to do. But if you're like, no, time to stop, they're like, oh, good, right? So like, had he said after the magazine before the 5, that's enough for today, you've done enough, like come back for another lesson, I would have been like, great.
Yeah.
But I'm okay with doing the last 5, but my grouping got really, really bad. Like I was around the middle of the target for my first 2 targets. And then for that 5, I was down into the white paper for a few. And that's just because like I'm shaking. I'm shaking all, and I'm like, I can't control it anymore. So yeah, I was not expecting the shoulder endurance aspect of it while you're doing it.
Right.
That came after for the archery, just feeling sore in weird spots. But it was during it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll definitely go back and do it again. It seems like a cool, like I feel like I'm adding things to my repertoire. I'm like, maybe I'll just go shoot some arrows this weekend on a Sunday. Like that.
Yeah.
Like I've been there. I already broke the seal, like I'll just sign up for some time or get another lesson. Just like, I haven't done that in a while and I kind of want to, just like adding things that are like easier to do like that. Have you done a workout where the coach said, all right, Miguel, that's it, and you were like, oh, good. Like, have you been stopped like that?
I mean, sometimes the dance lessons are like that, honestly.
Oh.
Where, like, holding positions is very tiresome.
Yeah.
So sometimes it's like, okay, well, we're moving on to something else, or, oh, yeah, that's our time for today. And I'm like, okay, perfect. I don't know how much longer this could have been effective.
Yeah. And that's, holding the stacked positions I've been holding and the ones you've been holding, it's good to get reminded of like what that feels like in a foreign position. Like if you and I were holding a barbell at the knees or a squat or something, we know this game. We, like we might even be able to cheat it a little bit, know. But someone starting brand new, that they're going to be feeling all kinds of things. So you doing ballroom dancing and you're like, not only do I know that I know this game, I know the static position burn, but this is different than what I'm used to. And like now I'm moving all over, or me holding an implement out at arm's length. It's good to get a reminder of what a beginner feels like, right? Or someone just starting off. So I think it's valuable for our own coaching perspectives too, because you forget what people are going through, on all these things. Do you have any other types of exploratory missions on the docket here?
I guess we'll get to them as they come up. Things always just open up. Yeah. So
you're just waiting as they come up versus looking for them. Cool. I think my next one will be foil or the fencing stuff. I'm slowly preparing for the zombie apocalypse. Like, all right, we can shoot an arrow. Like, but the thing is, I got to be 10 yards away. Like, all right, we're effective at 10 yards. Beyond that, we should. Actually, if they're closer than 10 yards, we need to be running. Like
Yeah.
we need to be running, and that's why we'll have the sword skills to be ready just in case. Because you watched The Walking Dead, right?
Yeah.
Michonne had it right. Those
Yeah.
samurai swords, quiet, effective, never runs out of bullets, and you never
Hmm.
have to retrieve anything. So she had some of the. The only thing is you have to be close, but yeah, cool. Well, we have a an article, right? Uh,
Yep.
on so this is I read through the bullets and the beginning of it. We're talking about the ego here. Let me pop this up. So, what drew you to this article?
I think it's kind of what I think it goes in line with a lot of what's been going on. One with us doing, newer sports and things like that, but also it's almost the opposite of I think what we were kind of pushing in the beginning of the summer, if you remember, kind of like more pushing people to like redlining and like taking risks and
Yeah.
that. And this is maybe not the opposite, but okay, now how do we kind of build people up and or how do we let them down easily if they want to start there?
Hmm.
How do we make sure that they're starting correctly and allowing them to build confidence without feeling like they have to go for it all right at the
Yeah.
beginning?
Yeah. Like, I mean, we have a new member who's very enthusiastic and wants to do a lot of things. How do you
Yeah.
temper that? How do
Yeah.
you reset expectations and make sure that you're reinforcing respect for the activity, and your own body? So yeah, this is very very timely. The article is on CrossFit's website for the professional coach. Um, well, that's like the folder it's found in, or like the section it's found in. It's not really the CrossFit Journal. It's called Empathizing with the Ego and Elevating Your CrossFit Members Experience by Amy Freeman. I thought the title was interesting. I like read it wrong when I
Yeah.
first looked at it, but it says empathizing with the ego. And having empathy is a coaching skill or just a skill in life all on its own. Like if someone is really gung ho and enthusiastic, you don't want to shoot them down and tear them down because they're wrong, because they're doing it the wrong way or something like that. You have to have empathy and understand where they're coming from, and then meet them where they are and then move them to the correct spot.
Yeah.
At least that's how I took it. What did you think about? Did you think about this part of the title of the article at all?
Yeah, because I think for me, I already have an understanding of, oh, just because you're scaling doesn't mean this or that. But
Yeah.
now empathizing, meaning like, okay, but this person doesn't have the years of it, like, regardless of if I go into a workout and I scale it or I go RX, this person doesn't even have the framework of the years of CrossFit that I have, where I
Yeah.
had to learn that scaling is okay, or even realize that maybe if I can do it doesn't mean that I should. Or yeah, I mean we'll get into it, but yeah, so many different things of how people view their accomplishments at the end of a workout and comparisons and everything like that.
Yeah. I mean, we'll talk about it, but you want to make sure that someone doesn't finish the workout. And we've had this conversation before on where someone is, uh, hey, I'm not going to let Miguel uh, be mean or dismiss my friend Miguel. Like, how you can't say that about Miguel, even though you're
Right.
Miguel. Like, do you know how hard Miguel worked to get
Hmm.
that muscle up? And now you're gonna crap all over Miguel's accomplishment, Miguel? Like, because that happens. People will do that. They're like, yeah, but I scaled. Yeah, but you also you scaled these parts, but you ran a mile for the first time.
Right.
I know you didn't do all the air squats and push-ups, but look at what you did. Look what you did accomplish. And people tend to focus on the negative, and that's why
Yeah.
we always need to be floating in the positive and the long term thing. How do you want to dive into this article here? Do you want to go straight to the points? Should we? Where do you want? What do you think?
Yeah, I think we should go straight to the points.
Uh, Maybe we should read "What is ego" too.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll start. I'll read "What is ego." There's an intro, like a 2 paragraph info or intro to the article, but I think what we want to focus on really just starts at this definition. So,
Yeah.
um, ego isn't just arrogance; it's our self-perception, our fears, ambitions, and self-worth. In the gym, it shows up as frustration when scaling workouts or embarrassment when modifying movements. Instead of suppressing ego, we can help members channel it constructively. So, yeah, that's what we were just talking about. Like people come in and just because they have to modify the movement, they feel bad about it. Or, this definition says it's not just arrogance. There's also the arrogance part where
Right.
people come in and they don't respect what we're doing here and they don't understand it. And maybe they've done something elsewhere. They got away with things at another CrossFit gym, or they did an activity that was CrossFit adjacent, like metabolic or Orange Theory or something, and or like one of those CrossFit gyms that isn't affiliated and they do CrossFit, but they're not really CrossFit. And they just don't they were always allowed to do deadlifts with their backgrounded because no one ever told them. Now you're Coach Miguel on a Sunday and you're like, hey, I think you should do this weight because you want him to have better form. See, I said him. It's always a guy. You want the person to have form, and they don't understand why. They're like, wait, no, but I can lift this weight, and they don't understand um, the respect and safety aspect of it. It'd be
Yeah.
like me wanting full magazine right away, pop, 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 and and my aim is all over the place. Wouldn't hit it once because I don't respect what we're doing, and I also have my own preconceived notions coming into it.
Right.
But I think this article is probably going to focus on part two, right? The
Yeah.
self. Okay.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. So here's how we can help members channel it constructively. What's the number one way?
Yeah. So number one is create a supportive culture. So it says foster a gym environment that celebrates effort and personal wins, not comparisons. So you can do that by celebrating milestones. You can highlight attendance, CrossFit Open participation, or persistence through setbacks. You can showcase diverse stories, share the achievements of all members from scaled workouts to overcoming injuries, reframe success, use growth oriented language like that split jerk looked smooth, focusing on progress over performance, shift scaling language, frame modifications positively, find a weight that feels like a moderate 7 out of 10 effort for you instead of if you're not strong enough, do X.
All makes sense. We just in recent episodes talked about coaching with positive language, you
Right.
know, like, hey, a moderate weight 7 out of 10 instead of, hey, you suck. You're not strong enough. So scale it down to this. How you say those things affect people, and your
Yeah.
words have a lot of power.
And it's even like fully reframing where we may not even say, if you can't do it, then do this. I think sometimes people already see a number on the board and they already feel less than if they're not hitting that weight.
Yeah. What do you think about this? Quick side tangent. Some gyms don't put prescribed weights on the board. They just like for like maybe for Fran 95, 65, but like if it's just like 5 rounds of 10 deadlifts and 10 push-ups and you would normally put 225, you don't. And you just say like, hey, it should feel like this. You warm people up, you coach them, and you just tell people what weight to put on the bar.
I can see the benefit. I do think that you then need to do an even better job of explaining like what that should feel like. I think we have to do that anyway, where
Yeah.
you know where we say, comparatively, this is a heavier deadlift than we'll typically do in a Metcon,
Hmm.
um, because we already have like, oh, it might just be 225, 135, or something like that. And maybe today it's like a 315. So you tell everyone this should be a heavier deadlift. I think you can get that across without having the numbers on there, but you just have to be conscious of that. And I do think that we are reaching for something in CrossFit, I guess you can say, right? Where it's like, what is the saying? It's like program for the
Program for the fittest, scale for
right.
the rest of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like time domains and things like that, I think knowing the numbers throughout time, once you see a number on the board, you kind of have a good idea. But yeah, I do think that there's a way that you can go around that.
It's definitely a culture thing at the gym. That's like
Mm-hmm.
something, like you start like, and you develop over years, and then your established members, they know the deal, and they start to learn what they can do. It would be maybe a little jar. Let's say if we did it next week, it would be a little jarring
Yeah.
for people because they're just so used to seeing it there and having that guidance. And then you see if you end up just saying, well, if it was on the board, it'd be, you just end up saying the number anyways.
Yeah.
Be something interesting to try. Um, Along the lines of reframing success, uh, that jerk looks smooth. You know, I think like stuff like that is good. Like even like take like the Olympic lifts, snatch and clean and jerk. If you go back 50 years ago, people were doing it without body contact, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and still doing world record crazy weights that people with body contact right now or the current technique can't do.
Yeah.
And performing at high levels and doing it with beautiful technique. That's back when the beautiful technique conversation started with those people, you know. So sometimes when like people will do that and they're learning how to snatch, like, oh well, I'm doing it wrong, and I'm like, no, you're doing it right. Like, like if you're just living in the wrong time right now,
Yeah.
but that's still a snatch, right? You still did it. Now, could we make it more efficient and try to lean towards modern technique? Yeah, but like especially with the Olympic lifts, beginners will often say that doesn't feel right or I'm doing it wrong. But it's like, what is right supposed to feel like?
Yeah.
I don't know. I've been doing it for a long time. You've been doing it. Sometimes it's like, I don't even know what right is supposed to feel like. Like every once in a while, you catch lightning in a bottle. And you're like, oh, that was it. That was the one. And then you're just trying to chase that dragon over again on
Mm-hmm.
having the most perfect timing and technique you possibly could. But I think not necessarily complimenting the someone's movement or something, but saying something like this, that jerk looks smooth, uh, to help reinforce things, or even like, hey, you already gave them a correction, and maybe they feel bad about it, and just coming back instead of giving another correction, or saying, hey, no, remember, push your knees out. If I told you to push your knees out, I might come around and be like, hey, Miguel, you're doing a great job pushing those knees out. Keep it up.
Right.
And you're like, oh, I'm doing a good job. And a lot of times that's my way of reminding you of the cue. Like
Yeah.
if I've already told you to push your knee out 3 times, and maybe you're close, just me saying good job pushing your knees out, you'll start pushing your knees out more.
Yeah.
You know, but it's not a every time James comes around, I'm getting negative feedback kind of a
Yeah.
thing, which you can fall into a trap of doing that for sure. Like you're always the bearer of bad news. Any other thoughts on this first little section?
Yeah. I think we kind of covered it. And I think it's something that we've been focusing on and we've talked about in previous episodes too. Just the framing of things.
Yeah, I do like how CrossFit snuck in do the CrossFit Open in there on,
Yeah.
on number one. I thought that was funny. Smart. Number two, offer individualized coaching, guide athletes to focus on personal progress over comparison. And the way to do that would be to set specific goals, encourage tailored objectives like unbroken sets or smoother transitions, encourage reflection. To build self awareness, ask members to identify what went well after workouts. Uh, and then get creative with modifications. Offer meaningful alternatives for injuries or limitations, celebrating these with the same enthusiasm as RX achievements. Definitely. This is
Yeah.
all super important. It's see the way CrossFit was like modeled, Greg Glassman's coaching you, he's coaching me. Then he's like, hey, how about this? How about we get together and I coach you both CrossFit? you know, and then, but he's still personal and individualized training both of us. We just
Right.
happen to be together. It's group training. It still has a personal training element to it. And if you just push people through the class and the whole focus is the task and not the individuals, then you're not training anybody. It's just a class that people showed up for. It's no different than like I don't know, like body aerobics or something like that, where the instructor, you're just following along what they're doing and listening, but you're
Yeah.
not getting any kind of actual feedback on anything that you would if you're working one on one and they're like, hey, go a little lower. Yeah. All right, good job. You went lower. Um, that's what I think of when I kind of see this a little
Yeah.
bit.
Agreed.
We are doing this in the barbell club, especially like the reflection thing. We're going
Yeah.
heavy in the reflection. How do you think that's been going? Has it been productive for you? Is it good to, after we're done, you're like, yeah, how did that go? And then what do I think about it and put that down? Has that been helpful?
I think so. Um, like we talked about, I think just even if people kind of have a different idea in their head of like how to fill it out, I think just overall getting everyone to think about it at the end and before is really important. And yeah, then you leave with something. I know that there were definitely some times where we would train and I would just get through training and go, okay, I got through training. But
Check the box.
yeah, but it's almost like you feel a sort of accomplishment after each piece because you go, here's what I wanted to work on today. Now that I have to reflect on it, did I do that? And you can go, oh, I did. That's cool.
Yep.
Like, I'm glad I was able to do that today.
Yeah. And like when I see you guys move, I have my own ideas, but it's good to be like, well, what's in Haley's head? What's
Yeah.
Shop thinking about? And then, if I have nothing, then all right, I'll focus on that. That's what you told me is
Hmm.
important to you. You told me it's important to you today. That's powerful, right?
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? I'm not happy with my footwork. I'm not happy with this. I want to work on this. And then I add in other things when necessary. Like,
Yeah.
okay, Shop has his thing down. Cool. I want you to work on that. But the thing that I want, we need better bracing on the core. Like we're letting that go. So that I think it's been helpful, and I'm excited to see that keep going. And I do like now how there is the individual interpretation. I saw like a thing on social media not too long ago how 8 billion people or however many people are in the world experienced today differently,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
completely 100%. No one had the same experience of life that day, and that's just like a cool thing to think about or even wrap your head around. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, how did my day go today? And no one else experienced your day the way you did. It's a pretty cool thing. So just like this, everybody had their own individual experience in the barbell club for each component, and then it's good for me to see that because I'll read those, and it did change the way I programmed the weight too, which is one of the things I wanted. If you remember,
Yeah.
some of you I only made a 1 kilo, 2 kilo jump, or no kilo jump. Others I bumped it way up. If you put down a 5 and you're like light, easy, but I still accomplished my goal. All right, I'm gonna give you more. So that's what I wanted to originally get out of it. So I'm glad that we're kind of it's all working.
Yeah.
Um, hmm. Are you in your classes having people set specific goals?
Um, it is something that I've been doing more asking before and after class, or
Mhm.
sometimes you figure that out depending on like movements. So I've
Yeah.
had people want to try muscle ups and have that be their goal, and maybe in the workout we have muscle ups, but they don't even attempt one on like higher rings.
Yeah.
But after, because I know that that's their goal, I watch how they're doing their transitions and I'm emphasizing different parts of transitions. And afterwards, I can then go up to them and say, hey, all these great things that you're doing in the transitions, that's helping you get towards this next step. So it's
Yeah.
great that you're doing this well in the transition because when you finally get the chance to get up there, that's going to pay off a lot.
Yeah. Definitely. And so you can use each individual workout to help people with long term goals. What about in class? performance goal for the workout of the day, where you're like, okay, here, like, let's set a goal. I want you, like, the goal is you're going to do all 10 push presses unbroken. Then when you get over here, you're going to do this. Are you doing anything like that?
Yeah, and I think we talk about things, and like we've talked about how some people question, should they go heavier or should they go faster, and usually it is, I'd rather you go fast, and here's what I want to see, and I know you want to do this, but here's what I want those step ups to look like, or here's what I want this to look like. And if you're able to do this, I think that that's better off for you.
Yeah.
So sometimes it is reframing or just listening to what they want. Because, yeah, each individual movement, people have their own ideas, either when they see it on the board, when they see it on Wodify, what they want to do.
And essentially, doing that verbally is like what we're doing in Barbell Club with the cards. Like the cards is a little more like we're actually collecting data and stuff like that. In the individual Metcon, it's like, all right, what are you trying to get out of it today? And what do I want you to get out of it today?
Yeah.
And what is the workout's purpose? I had over the summer write down, okay, I told everybody 5 rounds is or the goal or something. And then I wrote down, what is your goal for the workout or your focus? Essentially what we do in Barbell Club, I wrote everyone's name on the board and I said focus. And I said, all right, in this rowing thing workout, what are you trying to do? And then someone might say, be like, I'm trying to keep my rowing times under 2. All right,
Yeah.
cool. That's the goal for the workout. What are you trying to do? I'm trying to do sets of 10 on the sit-ups. So like we can do that. And I feel like the people responded well to it. The only thing is it's time consuming.
Right.
That's the only thing. But I think doing that in conversation, like, hey, Josh, Josh is a perfect example because me and him do this all the time. We're going for unbroken sets of 10 on the pull-ups today.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're going to do all 50 pull-ups. That's the goal, unbroken sets of 10. And then afterwards, did we do it or not? And then he did it. And then if that's his first time doing it, kind of like how I think it says later, or maybe we've already read it. Get creative. Celebrate these things.
Yeah.
Like I'll do that all the time. Hey, everybody, Josh did 5 sets of 10 pull-ups and he's never done that before. Awesome. Clap. Those are important things for sure. And they go a long way. So yeah, I would try to work that in. Especially if you have your small classes, like, hey, I want you to try to do this today. And just pick one thing, one movement, one thing.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever you think would be best for them. That'd be a cool thing to add in.
Yeah.
You want to read this next one?
Yes. Okay. That's number 3, right?
Yes.
Turn setbacks into growth. Help athletes see setbacks, such as injuries, aging, or plateaus, as opportunities. So celebrate persistence, praise those who show up despite challenges, and welcome them with genuine enthusiasm. Highlight wins beyond the gym. Recognize how members apply their fitness gains to life outside workouts.
Super important, like we try to do that in the newsletter, or like, for example, John Foster being the head referee at a men's hockey game for the first time. So when he comes into class, like we just had our discussion in our coaches meeting about moving the news to the end of class, but like that's like an easy low hanging fruit. Like, hey, he did this today, or Sid got married, because when Sid comes back, Sid got married, or he's getting married in India right now. That's where he's been. So when he comes back, that'll be a huge celebration, right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, life PR.
Yeah.
We like to celebrate those life PRs for sure. That's something I think we do pretty good in the gym.
Yeah.
I don't know if we really talk too much about like, hey, Miguel was coming back from a shoulder injury and look what he did. I don't know. We don't really do that part too much.
Yeah. I mean, there was like when Mike came back from like post-surgery.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Or like, I don't know. I don't do as many CrossFit workouts, but I mean, even me coming back from like hammy pulls and like trying things out, stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess we do it a little bit. Any other thoughts on turning setbacks into growth? I mean, Yeah. I mean, it's just encouraging people not to give up, right?
Yeah. And I think people do like comeback PRs or like, post COVID PRs where maybe it's not their top numbers, but they're like, I haven't touched this number in a couple of years.
Yeah.
So that's always good.
Yeah. Number 4, balance push with patience. Develop the skill of knowing when to push and when to hold back. And the way we do that is understand thresholds. Learn your athlete's physical and emotional limits. Start slow, go slow. Communicate openly. Ask questions like, how does it feel to manage this injury while training? Listen, understand, and empathize. And then focus on progress over perfection. Remind members that growth is not linear, it takes many forms. Can definitely agree with all that. I like that. Start low, go slow. You know, I'm experiencing that in all the activities I'm doing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, one bullet, like let's do that.
Hmm.
It doesn't need to be the full thing right away.
Yeah.
They're dropping in for Fran. Yeah, let's do it. Like, no, don't kill them. You know, because that's discouraging too, right? When you get crushed too early. Like
Right.
everybody will get crushed in a workout, but it just needs to be hard in the beginning, and everything is hard in the beginning. What
Yeah.
do you
And
think?
it's, it's interesting because of like my sporting background and my mindset around, I guess, athletics as a whole, where I realize that some people don't have that. And, just the way that you talk to them. And there is, again, it is physical and emotional, where some people don't know how to push beyond a certain point of feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And for some, it may be easier to just tone it out, keep pushing, keep moving. Like everyone knows, and I think I do a good job of like saying that it's okay to slow it down, but like consistent movement. But some people aren't used to that, and just knowing where each person's limit is and that it's different per person as well, I think is really
Yeah,
important.
yeah. You can't assume everybody's you,
Right.
and then because then you get in a situation of like, well, this is how I do it. This is the best way to do it. This is the only way to do it. This is how I want you to do it. Um, yeah, that's super important. And
Yeah.
a lot of people, like you have the background of doing athletics and sport at a young age and come from that culture. Some people, like CrossFit class, this is their first time
Yeah.
at 35, 37 years old or whatever they are. Some people much older, some people younger. And this is the first time they're being in that environment. And we have to remember what we're doing in the classroom is class. It's not the sport aspect of CrossFit. And not everyone needs to be a fire breather right off the bat. And not every workout is an open workout.
Yeah.
So it doesn't need to be perfect where you're like, you're giving no reps per se to your brand new person just coming in. All that doesn't count. Do more. All right, you saw they didn't hit the wall ball target. Do another one. Now if Shy's doing wall balls and whatnot, and he hits that target, you did 49, you got to do one more. Like
Yeah.
it's a little different, like because all he has that tolerance, he knows what he should be doing, and he wants that too because he
Right.
wants to perform better when the open comes around. So just understanding where everybody's coming from.
Yeah. And it's similar like barbell club versus CrossFit. Like when you were doing your level 4, like when we were doing our Tabata workouts and me yelling at everyone because it's barbell club. And I know that
Yeah,
we all compete in our goals are this. So I know that, and a lot of us do come from like previous sports, or at least I've seen throughout the years of barbell club that you're able to handle a certain, I guess, even verbiage and just like a tone
yeah,
overall versus a CrossFit class.
yeah.
So yeah.
And it worked. We only lost one person.
Yeah.
That's not why. This is funny to think about. um let's see here. How does that feel? Yeah, communicating. We've talked about that and whatnot. And then remind everybody that growth is not linear. Yeah, that's important too. Like if we look at weightlifting, one day you might come in and it feels amazing, you PR, then that feeling could go away for a while, or you
Right.
don't PR as often as possible. Just letting people know that that is normal. Like I these days I try to let people know this is normal. Like when they're dying in the workout, I'm like, this is, you're doing it right. You're doing it right. This is what the goal was today. It should feel like that. And I've been also trying to like lean into on like letting people know it should be hard like this. It should
Yeah.
feel like this. Like you're not doing something wrong that you need to stop, or if someone's like, oh, all right, my wrists are uncomfortable or hurt when I'm doing the overhead squat. And it's both of them. I'm like, yeah, this is normal. Like what, like when you like, don't shy away from it and be all of a sudden be like, well, I need to make this Miguel's special technique so he's not uncomfortable. I'm purposely trying to make you uncomfortable and in a safe way, in a
Yeah.
productive way. When you hang from the pull-up bar, it's going to hurt your hands. That's normal. And just letting people know that, but also not letting them take the easy way out to, to shy away from that. Because then all of a sudden you get someone who just gets really used to whenever it gets hard, they stop or they overscale things. And just being upfront with people like, this is how it's going to be today.
Yeah. Yep.
Is this you or me? I think this is you, right?
Yeah. The last one.
Yep.
Yeah. Number 5, promote a long term perspective. Fitness isn't a short term sprint, it's a lifelong mission. Help members adopt a sustainable, big picture approach to fitness. So, reframe goals. Connect workouts to longevity, functional fitness, and mental clarity, emphasizing life over workout scores. Share personal stories, be open about your challenges and how you've adapted, and highlight recovery. Teach the importance of rest and balance, especially as members age or face setbacks.
Yep. You did that today in your class. You said that one thing you struggle with your toes to bar is pulling your knees up to make it a little more efficient. And then during some of your demos, sure enough, you had straight
Yeah.
legs and wide legs. So, but you already told all of us that, and
Hmm.
it helps to humanize you, right? Because like you get a bunch of new people in class and you're like, look at this superhuman flying around the pull-up bars and stuff like that. I'm never going to be able to do that and whatnot. But then when you're like, hey, I'm still trying to get better at this. Look at, like, I'm going to show you what it looks like, but like these are things I need to work on. I
Yeah.
think it's good to do. Um, where is it? I had another thought. What are your thoughts on this little section here, number 5?
Um, yeah, I think sometimes, especially as teaching Sunday mornings, sometimes it's like, yeah, I'm just be glad that you came in today on a Sunday morning and you got a good workout in. Like
Yeah,
sometimes that's all you need. Like you've if no matter what you got going on for the rest of Sunday, if you just sit back, relax for the rest of the day, you still came in, got a good workout. That's just what we want. We want you to feel good at the end, no matter what your score is or how you scaled, or, if I dropped your rowing meters every round or something. Like the point is to feel away at the end, and
yeah,
feel good. Yeah.
yeah. I cut down the volume quite a bit in today's workout, and I was like, I'm glad I did it. Like I never regret doing a workout. And I was like, I got out of that what I wanted. I only did 30 air squats every round to a ball. We need to figure that out. But I did all 25 knee tucks, working on that little supported knee tuck that I've been experimenting with. And then the step ups, I only did 20 of them. That was kind of a wash for me. I like this. This seems so pointless for me right now. But at the end, I was like, all right, I feel like it was good, and I didn't need to be destroyed to feel like I got a good workout.
Yeah.
So that's like a thing. Sometimes people start and they're like, they only feel productive if they were left in a heaping pile of body parts and
Hmm.
sweat. And it's like, that's not the goal. Like we want to work really hard. You might be on your back, breathing heavy, but like you don't need to destroy yourself every single day. one thing over the summer I was telling classes, maybe you heard me say this in a class. I said, today's workout does not need to be your personal Olympics.
Yeah.
Like this, let's get this out of it. Here's the goal, scale it, all that stuff. You don't need to go about this like you're trying to do some fantastical performance. And if it feels like that, then you're probably doing too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Look at that. We did it. An hour and 15 minutes. Look at that.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still rolling. But that was, if anyone made it all the way through last week's video, we overshot our time domain. And we're saying we're trying to get these podcasts done in an hour and 15 minutes. I feel like we did it today, Miguel. I feel like we did it.
Yeah, I'd count it.
Like right now, this is the cleanup. Like we're
Right.
cleaning up the equipment, stuff like that. Sometimes that goes a little over the hour, but there's no class afterwards. Any closing thoughts on this whole thing?
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think, again, like I've said, Sundays have been kind of a lot of newer athletes in on these Sundays, multiple, and just changing the way that I look at these workouts and changing the way that I speak about them and being more mindful, because again, a lot of these people don't have the years. Like we said, we have met a lot of members that are 10 plus years, but these people are newer to CrossFit. So just changing the way that I speak about it in a more positive sense and helping them look at it in a positive sense as well has been really eye-opening. And I see that it's beneficial. Like I can tell when I talk to someone and I made them feel better about their performance in a workout.
Yeah, that's good. And over time, especially as you get more mixed classes, you'll start to figure out the different ways to cater to both at the same time. Like we used to have the noon class used to be called varsity way back in the day, like 2013, 2014. That's when all of the regional athletes would come and work out, and also other people. And eventually it got to the point where people were intimidated to come, like the whole thing, but Murph was coaching those classes. And one of the feedbacks that he got from the owner at the time, Jason Ackerman, was Murph was like teaching the wall ball one day on like technique. You want to keep your elbows in, you want to do this. And the regional team athletes and adjacent were there, and you could tell they're not paying, like, this isn't appropriate for that class. Like, but what they want to know, and the way you can add value for them is, okay, well, how can you cycle these to do more reps in a row? How can you go faster? How can you get a better score? So instead of teaching the wall ball from the ground up on a class that's clearly okay with it, and they're also not interested in that at all, you might lean the other way on the performance side. Like, hey, here's how we cycle reps. Do this with your hands to not burn out your shoulders and try to get 10 more reps. Breathe this way. That's what they want to know. So let's say you have a mixed class, you might have to do a little bit of both. And you'll start to figure out ways to do that where the advanced athlete feels taken care of and takes value out of the class the same way someone who is just doing a trial, they've never done CrossFit before, is going to pull some value out of it. Those two extremes at the end of the spectrum, you have to be able to coach both in the same hour and give them both value. And leaning one way too much versus the other doesn't work for either population. So that just I remember that very vividly, because we used to get yelled at. Like the way we used to get feedback was different. Like back then, he's like, why are you doing this dumb thing? Like it was much harsher feedback. But does that make sense? Like, and do you think about how you might do something like that? Like you've got games athletes in the class, and then you have our regular everyday folk who are like only a couple months in. How can you make this fun, engaging, and thoughtful for everybody?
Yeah, definitely. Or like what I would want to hear, or like, oh, we're doing muscle ups and we're working on transitions. Mike is going to do ring muscle ups. Now, what do I tell him about muscle ups? And like, how do you get into the next rep? How do I want you to do this? Things like that.
Yep. And remembering that they all want coaching.
Yeah.
There's not one person that doesn't want coaching. Although there will be people that act like they don't want coaching or stuff like that, but if it's someone who really, really doesn't want coaching, Miguel, they probably won't last long. You won't be
Yeah.
seeing them after a certain amount of time. They'll go find another activity because they don't want feedback. There are people out there like that. So yeah, cool. Things to think about. I can't remember if I already asked you this question. Any closing? Did I already ask you
Yeah,
any
that's what
closing
we
thoughts?
were on.
Okay, all right. That's what we got. That's right. All right. Yeah, and those are mine as well. So awesome, Miguel. Where can people follow you?
Couldn't be Miguel on Instagram.
Couldn't be Miguel. Follow me, James A. McDermott. Follow Albany CrossFit, Albany CrossFit Barbell Club. The Barbell Strikes Back. Or don't. Or don't. Spend less time on social media. How about that? I've never said that before after that. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Miguel, the coaching marathon of today is almost over. Great job today.
Thank you.